Do you like scary movies? Wait, that's the wrong film.
Ethan Hawke is back as the Grabber in Black Phone 2, the follow-up to 2021's creepy supernatural horror. So can this sequel maintain the chills, or should we all just hang up on it? As Finn struggles with life after his captivity, his sister begins receiving calls in her dreams from the Black Phone and seeing disturbing visions of 3 boys being stalked at a winter camp known as Alpine Lake. In addition to Hawke, Madison Thames, Madeline McGraw, and Jeremy Davies return, along with Demian Bichir, Miguel Mora, and Ariana Rivas. While Finn was traumatized by his kidnapping by the Grabber and is now trying to live life without that villain, his sister Gwen is experiencing some wild dreams and visions that point to some Christian youth camp up in the mountains, where a few boys went missing many years before, because we all know it's never the drag queens. McGraw has a much larger role in this, effectively becoming the lead for the story. Now, as Gwen, she's tormented, exhausted, self-doubting, but still headstrong in the fact that she needs to help solve whatever her visions are showing her. And there are a couple of moments within the film where McGraw digs down deep and unleashes just this powerfully raw and affecting guttural emotion. It nearly brought me to tears, and it felt like she was bearing her soul, just reflecting on some unseen personal horror so that we in the audience could feel her torment. It was impressive to experience. If you've seen the trailer, you notice that there are some scenes that are extremely grainy, almost a bit blurry too, like they've been filmed on a Super 8 camera. Now this takes a beat to get used to, but it becomes a very effective way to determine where in reality we are. So if we're watching someone have a vision or even a flashback, the picture morphs into this ultra-grainy shot, creating a nostalgic and slightly unsettling image because not everything is just crisply in focus and we can see all the details. But all of the sequences that are outside of a vision, they're crystal clear. Not only is the stark contrast an outstanding effect, but the transitions that are utilized create an amazing illusion of coming out of a vision, or maybe succumbing to one. I began to enjoy the effect, simply because it wasn't a gimmick, but instead a tool that helped to quickly identify where in time and space we were. Now, I love the family theme that's woven throughout this story. While the first one is a tragic tale that deals with the isolation and terror that Finn experiences, here we get to watch a ripple effect on multiple people, viewing how they respond to certain traumas, and then also how, or if, they choose to intervene to help others. Now, there's a portion that gives us some further backstory into Finn and Gwen's family. And while this is nice, even bittersweet, it's very predictable. I still appreciate what it does for the familial themes and how it works to build out Gwen's character even more, but I really could have done without such an obvious reveal. Mason Thames continues to be a strong presence in the story, and this time having to come to terms with the fears and the demons that he can't see, all brought on by the Grabber. And his frustration and the detachment, and along with some heavy denial, create a relatable persona. I mean, someone who doesn't have the tools to move past their trauma, but is still doing their best to go on, even if it means simply ignoring the pain. And Thames executes this well, allowing us to feel the seething anger and heartbreaking sadness that he carries through posture changes and then small looks. Now, as a central baddie, Ethan Hawke once again dives headlong into the maniacally evil character of the Grabber. His raspy voice and unrushed cadence just work to set our teeth on edge, and then when that is combined with the new makeup aesthetics that his character takes on, it's a gnarly package that's awesomely not right. There's also an element of Art the Clown to this experience with the Grabber. I mean, we don't always hear him, but instead we see visions of him using hand movements and tilts of the head just to create some unsettling imagery. And because these were used sparingly, they didn't become bothersome as a ripoff of Terrifier. Instead, they felt more like a respectful nod to the brilliance of David Howard Thornton in all his clown makeup. And because of how the Grabber interacts within this story, we get to see some unique and impressive shots that allow Hawke, maybe a stunt double, to weave in a beautifully violent ballet that alternates between seen and unseen visions. Now, I think one very obvious concern this film is going to share has to do with a certain third entry in an iconic horror franchise. It's pretty much unavoidable just thanks to the way that this plot is introduced and then carried out. And I didn't mind this aspect, especially because of how the visual execution is handled, but I think many are going to see this and then instantly think of how much it's copied from that other horror. And I get it. It can be a very bothersome point. But what makes this stand out and become its own tale is that theme of family that I'd mentioned before. There's also an examination of remorse and guilt, each of which works to reinforce the idea of family and responsibility. Now, I thought Demian Bashir's character stoked this angle really well, allowing a new perspective to weigh in through actions and the occasional requisite exposition dump, which then fills in story gaps. Because this takes place in a mountain campground and it is in the middle of winter in a snowstorm, I thought the environment would become a formidable character within the storytelling. But while it is the MacGuffin to keep our characters in a central location, the cold just never seemed to take on a threatening or foreboding characteristic. And I'm not saying the story needed something additional as a complication, but just simply because our characters are trapped in a freezing, near whiteout scenario, the elements did have the opportunity to add just another layer of dread and danger that the movie just chose not to exploit. I think probably the thing I liked best within the movie is the element of the grabber. And while we do get additional background on him, and then we get to watch some heinous acts carried out, we are creatively not told why. Not knowing a motive, especially with some dude who targets kids, that makes for an unsettling and wickedly unnerving villain. We don't get to rationalize what in his past may have led to such behaviors, and not giving him an out removes any potential sympathetic angle, so he can then just be singularly evil. I loved this everyman hid in plain sight, the devil next door, mirroring so much of the vileness that exists in the real world, even if we don't know it. Now, think on that too long and it just might make you paranoid. But Hawke fully grasped the assignment and wielded his voice and mannerisms to emphasize the malevolence that the grabber contained. Overall, Black Phone 2 is a worthy sequel that expands the cast to form a powerful family-centered horror. While the presentation borrows, even copies ideas from other iconic horrors, this also forges its own path with creative visual effects and a dynamic duo of protagonists who are stubborn and determined to succeed. Madeline McGraw, Mason Thames, and Ethan Hawke all deliver excellent performances, with the first two utilizing emotional rawness to make their characters captivating and affecting. While this isn't the scariest film of the year, it provides freaky chills with some touching depth, using familiar and relatable themes to deliver its horror. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and then a bunch of gruesome violence. I give Black Phone 2 3.5 out of 5 couches. I'm still trying to decide which of the Black Phone movies I like the best, but they are both worth watching on a semi-regular basis. Okay, since we're talking about horror, what is your favorite spooky movie? Doesn't even have to be a true horror. I'm just curious to know what you love to watch during this time of year. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.